Welcome everyone to a Delco Nerd Network Hot Take. Guys, you haven't seen a hot take before? Well, it's where a few friends get in a basement, give our thoughts, give our opinions on a TV show, a movie, or a game. Today, it's going to be a movie, and that movie is the Marvel legend,
Jared Leto's own
Morbius. Here to discuss, as always, the triple threat, Chris Trio.
Gooch. I was trying to come up with a good line of blood, something blood related to start this off, but I got nothing. This movie's at me. How are you feeling today?
I'm alive, like the living vampire.
That's true.
Morbius.
He is alive. He is alive.
He is alive. Yeah, all right.
Where to begin?
Let's just start with this fucking this thing, whatever this is.
Morbius was supposed to come out 2 years ago now?
I don't know.
We'll just start here. I really think
it was early
old.
2020.
I want to say that too.
Yeah.
So,
I know it got delayed COVID-wise.
For sure.
And it got hit maybe 4 times since that initial COVID delay.
Absolutely.
I think early 2020 is our...
I'm fairly confident this finished filming before COVID too. And all that stuff.
Had to
way far out. So this movie, I really don't know where to begin. We'll start with performances wise. Jared Leto, surprisingly tame. I didn't really hate him in this. He wasn't at all the worst part. I thought the best performance was definitely out of the villain of the piece, who I guess, if you care about spoilers, I'm sorry. But it's his friend Milo, who he also calls Lucian.
So that's one thing I don't understand right in the beginning. I think he calls him Milo as an insult because the kid in the bed before him was Milo, but they just call him Milo.
I didn't think it was as an insult. I took it as because he was saying the Milos just kept dying in that bed.
Not in an insult, but as
you're not sticking around.
You're Bob. There was a Bob before you and a Bob after you, and there's going to be
So
that kind of jive.
Absolutely, exactly. Yeah. So this actually surprisingly follows the comics very much. So it's very comic accurate. I watched. If you've ever heard of Comic Tropes on YouTube, I would highly recommend him. I watched this whole video on Morbius yesterday, but he also does really in-depth looks at different comic runs and kind of what was going on behind the scenes of them. So definitely would highly recommend his channel. But I was watching that, so it's basically the same origin. He's on the boat. That's where he goes to do his experiment to cure some. They don't name the disease in the comics apparently, but
yeah, they don't name it in this either.
Yeah, well, they say it's a blood. They even go more vague in the comics. Apparently, they just say he has a disease. In this, they at least go, well, he has a blood disease, I guess. And Dr. Michael Morbius is trying to find a cure to this. And yeah, he goes on the boat and he does that experiment. I really took from the trailers that he was the turn was happening when he calls the bats.
Let's back up. Let's back up a little bit, Trio.
There's so much.
You got a little ahead of me. This movie is a smoke and mirrors ruse. This movie is a lie. It was marketed so more complexly than it actually is. With the Spider-Man stuff. There's a lot of cutscenes in the
I wouldn't
trailers.
say it was more complex. I would say they just straight up lied.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They lied about the movie is fairly straightforward. It's not really confusing.
I mean, it doesn't really it doesn't make sense in a lot of respects.
It's very boring. In the beginning, I was I'm not hating this, but the movie just coasts. The one line, it doesn't really get terrible, and it doesn't really get great. It's it's not even good. It's just it's just the movie just goes, and it's boring, and you don't really care about any of the characters, or and and then there's some moments that'll just make you go roll your eyes, and why is Matt Smith being super campy, and then the overall tone of the film is pretty serious for the most part,
sort of horror-ish at some points.
And then there's one point where Michael Morbius is just I'm gonna start quipping.
I think you've alluded to an exact thing here. This movie has no fucking clue if it wants to be a horror movie, a comedy movie, or a serious drama. And it switches back and forth between that. You got campy bad guy, who he was having a lot of fun with it, Matt Smith. I enjoyed him probably the most in this movie. I don't think this movie respects your time or your intelligence. It clearly has major plot elements taken out in the middle of it.
This movie is clearly cut up
so much.
Yeah,
you can tell.
They a lot of the nuance of the movie clearly got cut on the cutting room floor.
It just doesn't. There are leaps in logic that make absolutely no sense, and it really frustrated me by the end. Just to get to this point of, we're just jumping from plot point to plot point without any reason to do so. So, for example, Dr. Michael Morbius flees the boat after he kills all the gentlemen on board after going full vampire. By the way, probably the coolest scene in the whole movie. I enjoyed it a lot. I thought his transformation at that beginning part, when he's hanging on the ceiling and the guy walks in, that was cool.
Morbius's effects on him, particularly Dr. Michael Morbius, were pretty cool.
Sometimes.
Matt Smith didn't look good as a vampire.
He looked very, like, the idea, I guess their facial features were very exaggerated.
They look like vampires. But
also, I think Matt Smith already has very kind of almost exaggerated features, so it makes it even more.
Yeah, and Jared Leto, it's like, the beard is kind of like a Dracula vampire kind of look. Like, he looks...
He's Morbius. Yeah, he looks like Morbius. Yeah.
Like, I think he does, and like you were saying to his acting, he does a pretty good... Yeah.
He's fine. He is. He's totally... He works in this movie. And like I was saying, I think that there's 3 different interesting movies here, but I think the most interesting movie would be a horror film set in this universe with Morbius as, like, maybe these cops are trying to figure out who's murdering these people. They keep getting drained of blood, but the cops are very quick to accept that he is a vampire. He is also very quick to...
Yeah, it's like they know before they even say
it. And they're very...
It's not like they're putting it together.
It's weird. I mean, I get it. All the people's blood was drained on board, but the only evidence they have linking Morbius to this crime is that his origami was found on board, and they are ready to arrest him, and they put him in jail. Why? And then Morbius is just like, yeah, I'm a vampire, and I need to feed soon, or else shit's gonna go down. And they're like, okay. When his face changes in front of them.
Yeah, he's like explaining to them in like a very like cheeky manner for some reason, and I'm just like I don't know if like what?
Gooch, I'm getting hungry. And then I don't know if you'll like me when I'm hungry.
And what I brought up originally, when a part where it's like, why are we quipping? It's like when, I am Venom, like that scene, which, this movie does take place in the Venom universe, 110%.
That's the only thing that tells us that.
That whole scene where he like co-ops this like gang
drug lab
into his lab is like, I'm like, what?
It's really tough to break down this movie, to be honest.
We're barely gonna do it
because
we're just gonna sit here
to even just
complain.
Like really give a coherent thought on it, because it really is all over the place, and it's just a character.
I wouldn't say it's all over the place. Its tone is definitely all over the place, but the movie is, like I said, it's really simple. It's the friend rival.
You're right. I'm sorry. It is, but
versing the evil version of yourself. It's got all the
classic 2000s home. I did mean to bring that up. That's so true. Yeah. It is such a old timey plot driven
Iron Man 1
movie. 2000. Yeah, it is Iron Man 1, but even more so back. It was always the bad guy was fighting the same person as himself even before that.
Yeah.
And this was the plot of Venom 1 too, to a degree. At the same time, I mean, he's just fighting the same monster as himself.
Yeah, it's the plot of Venom 2 as well. He's fighting an
evil but he's red and he's a bit more murdery. No, that's very true. It really is. They just are fighting like Sony. They pulled this off with Venom. You know why? Because that movie's semi-coherent.
Because people like Venom.
People like the character.
Right. There's affinity for
the
character.
There is affinity for that character. And I'm sorry, like this, compared to Venom 2, this is better than Venom 1. Venom 2 I would watch 1,000 times before this, but I'd rather shoot myself before watching either of them if possible. Sony, I'm really hoping this puts a shot in the arm for their SPUM universe. I can't remember. There was an acronym they put out for it. It was SSPUM. The Sony Spider-Man.
I never want to hear you say that on
the SPUM universe. Huge. God damn it.
Again.
All right, well, next time we journey to the SPUM universe, we can talk about it.
I'm glad you brought that up because, as a comic book fan, as a Marvel fan, you should be so disappointed that this movie is a thing to a level in which it's embarrassing. The fact that...
I mean, I don't know. Like, it's on... So I guess the problem is, I'm sorry to interrupt, is that people don't know that these are maybe two separate entities from the MCU, too. You're layman.
I think people know.
No, I mean, I'm talking about your regular moviegoers, not people who follow the MCU. You walk in and you go in episode. I mean, they aren't, as far as our feet are wet. But I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
You should be disappointed that this movie is a thing, that Marvel allowed this to happen, that Sony made this because.
Well, hold on. You can't give Marvel shit for allowing this to happen. That's all I'm saying.
Let me finish.
Sony can do what they want.
We should be worried. We should be very worried. But if this movie performs as poorly as I were thinking it will, I think we'll be okay. You know, the end of this movie, it's just like Venom, the Spider-Man tie-in, which we all were expecting. The movie got delayed, again.
But this one was just so much even more.
Let me finish. Let me finish. The movie was delayed. I can't. No, maybe to add a post-credit scene, of which we get Vulture. For some random reason, because it doesn't explain this in No Way Home, pulled out of his universe and put here. That's not how the spell works in the movie. It's everyone going to their universe, not the other way around.
Correct.
So somehow, Adrian Toomes from the MCU is pulled into the Venom universe.
He doesn't seem to care that his family's not there. He doesn't seem to like.
The movie just doesn't care about anything, any logic behind it. And then, okay, he's let go because Adrian Toomes didn't commit any crimes on
He doesn't even seem
Earth.
to exist on that Earth.
Right. So, okay, I guess that makes sense. Now Morbius driving down a highway in what looks like Las Vegas desert
like the desert
area.
Or something, yeah.
It looks like they matched on Tinder and they're deciding to meet up in the middle of the desert.
Absolutely.
And Vulture just comes out of nowhere.
Bit of a meet cute.
It's definitely not Michael Keaton.
Of course not.
It almost doesn't sound like him, to be honest.
It's super ADR, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to do Sinister Six. Morbius is a pretty good character in this movie. You know, he doesn't want to kill people.
You just reminded me of something. Continue.
Doesn't want to kill people. He wants to stop his best friend from being an evil version of himself.
Yeah.
And that's why he doesn't want him to take the formula.
He's even ready to kill himself.
Right. So they set Morbius up as a pretty good guy, which I'm fine with.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of
He is definitely more of a sympathetic villain too in the character.
Yeah,
in the
how they break him in and he kills people, and that experience, you know, his first feeding kind of like stays him off of like being a villain. And I'm like, okay, I like that, but like, why at the end are we teaming up with the villain? And I guess we're gonna be villains now. So my fear. We all want to, you know, this is a movie we didn't want. We don't want Madam Web. We don't want Kraven the Hunter. Why are we getting these films? I don't know, but they're fucking making them. They made this. We want Andrew Garfield's Amazing Spider-Man 3. And what did Amazing Spider-Man 2 end with? Sinister Six. Mm-hmm. So I'm fucking terrified. They're cobbling together their own Sinister Six again, and they're gonna do an Andrew Garfield Amazing Spider-Man 3 with the Sinister Six, which I guess so far would be Venom, Vulture, and Morbius. And I'm like, dude, if look at this movie, you don't want Amazing Spider-Man 3 if it's gonna be like this piece of trash.
I mean, but see, we're running into this issue again of, I will push back on you and saying Marvel has no say over this. You were saying, I can't believe Marvel allowed this to happen. They don't allow this. They don't have any say. They can't. They literally.
I guess.
No, I mean that's it. No, like Sony has full creative. They can say, "Fuck you, Marvel. We're making this movie," and then Kevin Feige can say, "Could you not?" Like, you know, that scene or that interview when they're getting interviewed together, Amy Pascal and him.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, it's in the," and then he was like, "Oh," like you could tell he doesn't like this, but. There is the only thing they only have creative control over is the MCU Spider-Man.
Do you think Marvel stepped in with like that delay? Do you think that's why?
Well, no, I think Sony was. I think Sony was like, "Oh, can we connect this in a more real way?" To the MCU, and Marvel was like, "No." And then for the last 2 months, Sony's been fucking shuffling around because Spider-Man: No Way Home did so well, and they realized all these Spider-Men are still tenable in some way. Maybe we can use one of them. Who knows? By the way, the Daily Bugle, you probably saw this, but that's the Raimi Daily Bugle.
Yeah, I pointed it out to you.
Which is
I was
pretty
like
cool.
I was like Daily Bugle.
Well, no, Daily Bugle, but like I didn't realize it was the Raimi versus like Spider-Man one, because like there's the Amazing Spider-Man one too. That's different, but. That is interesting. Again, I don't know what's happening. Apparently, Spider-Man exists in this universe because Vulture mentions him to Morbius as if he is an existing character. At the end, he's like, "We got to take out Spider-Man."
I'm like, how would Morbius know who Spider-Man is?
Correct, because apparently they're just a Spider-Man
right,
running around.
Like I'm not even asking.
No,
I
know. I'm just more giving the sarcastic answer of like, apparently there's a Spider-Man. But by the way, I do want to get back to the actual movie itself for a second. He really gets over killing himself rather quickly. He's like, I'm taking this serum. It's gonna kill him. She's like, what's the second one for? Myself. And then he just feeds on her, turns her into a vampire, and it's never discussed
There's
again.
a love interest who's like his assistant.
Martine, by the way,
I want to speak to this as if you haven't seen the movie.
Oh no, I know. I'm sorry.
Like I hope you haven't seen this. I hope you're just watching this.
Martine, an actual comic book character.
Yeah, I know.
Which I did not realize that. No,
I knew that last name.
There's just, I don't know. I just had no fun.
I don't know.
I had no fun with it at all. I just was bored. That's not true. I had 1 second of fun when he took down that ship full of people, and I was like, this could be something cool. And then it just went right down. There's so many tropes that, like 2000s movie tropes used in this movie that just blow my mind. I feel bad for this director. Honestly, because it feels like I can't remember smaller stuff. But Sony really seems to just take these directors and be like, we're making this movie how we want. We're just using your name to put on it. And you got to make sure that the day-to-days go along. But if you've seen the interviews with him, he seems just so fed up of
recently, like in the last week, he like basically spoiled the whole film.
Even before, yeah.
Yeah. So I think he clearly like disowned it.
Well, but apparently they were like, it seemed that Sony endorsed it. It's so weird. And they asked him what universe it's in, and he said, I couldn't do that, or else Sony would have to kill me or something like that, because they can't make up. Because he was like, because that would make them make up their mind. That's the thing with this. Sony seems to just not want to commit to what they're doing at the least. Like, if you're gonna do this other universe, do it. Give me a different Spider-Man.
And do it 100%.
And do it 100%. And then give me Spider-Man in the MCU as well. I don't care. People can figure that out. But it's just this half in, half out mentality that this movie I didn't want to be made.
Nobody wanted this.
But
nobody was asking for this.
I do think...
Cool character to do.
That's
in
what
a
I'm saying.
Spider-Man movie.
And I think
not
he would
as
work
a solo
there.
film.
But I also do think that if you put the right people on anything, you can make a cool movie. And I think that you could have made a cool genre-bending horror film about Morbius. That if you approached from a not trying to build a universe perspective would have probably been pretty cool. And actually, I probably would have been fine with Jared Leto in that role.
We had a conversation with a guy outside the theater. Like, Blade would have been a great movie, or like a Morbius being a Blade villain would have been cool too.
Fun fact.
Like, it makes sense.
Yeah, fun fact. I was telling you this outside the theater, but he was originally going to be introduced at the end of the first Blade. It was shot and everything, but they didn't have the rights.
Who played Morbius?
I think it was just like a silhouette shot.
Okay.
So to cast, but
yeah, it's just like it's like, you know, it's exactly like Mike, and maybe you were expecting. You know, what's funny? Let me back up a little bit. Like, when we walked out of the theater, like, Trio was like, you know, and I was interested. I'm like, how am I gonna be? Like, when I came out of Venom 2, I was like. I was like a different person.
Yeah,
like
I could say it burned you to your very soul.
And I came out and I was just like just stiff faced and like, yeah.
And I'm sitting there like, Gooch, how, like, that one made me that angry on the inside. Like, really, as I got home and I was like simmering on the post.
I think it was the post credit. It was going to be a piece of junk before, you know, weeks ago.
Yeah,
months ago.
Like, I at least walking out of Venom for me. I was at least like, well, the fighting was actually kind of cool. I liked at least seeing these characters that I find interesting depicted in some way. But this, I was just like, I don't care about Morbius. I don't particularly care for Jared Leto. I don't particularly care for most of...
he wasn't horrible.
No, I agree. And again, he can be a good actor.
With the Joker, and he's in Tron Ares, which makes me uneasy, and he was in Blade Runner 2049, and he's just kind of like, man, that... He's entered a lot of, like, really popular pop culture films, and delivers, like, really like, I like his Joker. We just haven't seen, to me, enough of it, and no movies are really focused on it, so how can we really see what his Joker's capable of?
Sure.
That being said, he's in a lot of big Oscar movies and seems to do like a pretty okay job. But then he comes to these movies and it's just like, Jared Leto.
And just his, not to get into his personal life too much, but he just seems like an interesting fellow, to say the least.
For sure.
And I don't know. It's just there's so many boxes that are being not checked, but being actively, I don't know, X'd out that I just don't care about. And I really feel like Sony thought they could ride the coattails of Venom off this and just get the money at least.
And that's what that is going back to the ruse part of it. That's where I'm calling it like it's smoke and mirrors. You know, Sony wanted to get your ass in that theater regardless of the quality of the movie because they know.
Well, they know people want. Yeah,
they know that people know that Venom was in No Way Home, so they're trying to capitalize off of it as much as they can to make the most money. This isn't about making a good Morbius film at all. This is about maximizing profit.
Absolutely.
This is about milking off the MCU, doing whatever they can to have that Avengers money, that Spider-Man money.
No, it's true.
I hope that Kraven the Hunter and the Madam Web projects are trashed. Because nobody fucking wants that.
See, I will always disagree with that in the way of I want them, if they're going to make them, I want them to be good. I would rather them be good. I don't want I don't want to set out from the outset and be like, I hope these are bad, but you're getting me. I'm not very, we probably will see Madam Web, unfortunately. But guess what? We're going to be the only ones that see it because we see all of these. You saw the Morbius theater.
There
it was
like
all over.
10 people?
There was 10 people. I actually thought there were more than I was expecting there to be in our theater.
And Venom 2 was pretty packed.
Packed. It was a almost full theater.
And we went to an IMAX showing, like prime time on Thursday
absolutely.
night.
So it shows you how much a character recognition also does for that. If this was a character that was as popular as Venom, they might have been able to release this and make their money back and be fine. But they tried this with it. They're really trying to scrape whatever barrel they can, and they're not doing it in a creatively interesting way. And they're gonna shoot themselves in the foot. And this will cause them to eventually, I think, really fold in some way, or even sell their rights and stuff like that.
I'm curious how much this movie costs, and again, I'm curious to see what the weekend box office totals are going to be like.
I know the projected was like $40 million for.
No way.
For. That's low as fuck, Gooch. That's like really bad.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's not good. I know movie, but it gets confusing, like to know exactly what's like. It's like $40 million.
Whoa.
Yeah, I'm gonna check out.
And this movie. I would imagine the delays has probably gouged Sony and Marvel a little bit.
Marvel's not involved in this, Gooch. They're not taking any hit on this. No, that's what I'm saying. I don't mean to. I'm just saying, like,
but
this
I feel
is
like I
all
have
Sony.
to put them in there. You know?
But I know, but
they're in.
I don't blame
this little partnership.
You're right. Going on. But they're partnered on that.
Sony has had to have like gouged some money from these delays, and 2 years of it, and the reshoots. Because remember when Michael Keaton was on Fallon, and he was like, "Yeah, I just shot some
vulture stuff." Yeah, and that was probably when they were doing these reshoots. To be honest, when they were doing that little one.
And again, what we see in the trailers is really not in the movie. Like
I would say the only things that are in the trailer that aren't in the movie are all the nods.
What's up, Doc?
It's the vulture stuff.
Dr. Michael Morbius.
It's all the vulture stuff, and then it's the one shot of him like getting let out of the van, and he's like, Dr. Michael Morbius, what's going on?
Yeah,
and then the other one is the picture of Andrew Garfield Spider-Man behind him.
No,
and then that's
Tobey Maguire.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah. That was put in there
just to
make money.
Just to cock tease.
Yeah.
Excuse my language. I'm sorry.
To jerk you off a little bit.
To give you a little titillation to get you in the theater. Right. But guess what? It didn't work.
No.
It didn't work.
I'm happy to say.
And we saw it.
It's not going to work.
But again, like I said, we're seeing it because we're doing a service to you.
Right.
Thank you. We appreciate tips, and we'll take them as you please.
Yeah, this isn't like, we would have, regardless of the podcast, like, we would have been in that theater seeing that movie, regardless of this. And it was funny. We've gotten some screeners in the past for certain movies.
Yeah.
And we've disclosed that. It's been a while since we actually done.
And even they've been like public screeners that are early. Like we haven't been like invited to something. But
yeah, we have.
Well, like, they're like public, like they're fan screens that you have to sign up for. It's not like we're not
man, I get an email.
We're not getting like reached out.
I'm personally being invited under the DNN banner.
We could do that. Yeah.
I was almost just like, I wish we would have saw this movie for free. I'm usually not that fickle about like what I go to see or like.
You're pissed that you have their money or that they have your money. Yeah.
Yeah, in a way, because I almost go. People that don't care about this stuff, that tangentially like comic book movies, don't support this.
Well, and
I can't use this for myself because I'll be in the theater watching it
but
that's just like what I want to do.
People who are like film people, whatever you want to call it, will use these as excuses of being
Filmophiles,
cinephiles.
Cinephiles.
They'll use this as an excuse of like, well, you see, this just pumps out popcorn flick bullshit stuff. And you know, you're right. This is an example of just the worst I feel like a comic book movie can be.
You know what?
And
Like it's funny. Like, is this movie is not a popcorn flick. I understand what you
know what I
mean.
mean?
But I'm like, this isn't a popcorn movie flick that you're gonna go and have fun. Like Ready Player One is something like that, or like Top Gun Maverick that's coming out in the summer, which I think we'll probably review because that movie looks like fun. Like it generally looks
at
like
least
a good fucking time.
One of the biggest crimes a movie can commit is feeling like I've wasted my time. Like I'm just bored.
And it's an hour and 40 minutes, and I think like the whole movie drags a smidge, but it doesn't feel like long or anything. So that's fine.
Yeah,
I even said like I'm like this movie's under sub 2 hours, which automatically means it's bad.
Yeah, that's Gooch's go-to.
I think it's true. I think like most Marvel movies fall from the 2 to 3 hour gap, and they stay in there. And like that's like usually I'm like a good long movie. I'm gonna get a quality film. You know? That's usually what I think.
Yeah, I don't personally connect length usually to quality. Honestly, you know me. Most of the time I'm walking out of the theater, I'm like, you could shave 15 minutes off here.
Yeah, like I think Matrix was probably one of the most egregious ones that we've seen recently.
Yeah,
like, that was a little too long.
Whenever again, like I said, wasting my time, and if I'm checking my phone for the time, that's also a really bad sign.
You're a phone checker during movies.
Just totally disagree. Gooch has seen me check it once, and then he's like, Trio's got his phone. Trio pulled his phone out in the previews of the movie.
Nothing annoys me more than when the group of people I'm seeing with, I see a phone come out, and I'm like, you fucking asshole.
It's one thing if you're pulling out
me? My family?
If you're pulling out your phone with the dimness all the way down to do a quick peek to check something, that's one thing. But if you pull your fucking phone out in front of you with your big fat dumb face being lit up, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you. No, I'm kidding. But you know, etiquette. That's all I'm saying.
I think that happened in Eternals. It
what?
did.
Yeah. There was a woman right. No, it was.
Yeah, there was a woman right in front of us to the left.
Was that Batman?
It was Eternals.
Oh well, so actually, the second time I saw Batman with John and them, there was a couple in front of us. This girl pulls out her phone, does that exact same thing I just said. Has her phone on like full brightness, and it's like just texting.
My dad did that. I'm like, Dad,
what are you doing?
This.
Yeah.
I'm like, Dad, put the phone away.
Stop it! You're embarrassing me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't really know how much like. We kind of, as little as we actually talked about the movie, there's just not a lot interesting to even.
He becomes
talk
a vampire.
About.
His friend also becomes a vampire that has a similar disease to him, and then they have to fight because the other guy is killing people. Also, I hated that he had to drink synthetic blood. Like, give him.
And the way he does it.
I know it's so.
It's not like he just bites into the bag and sucks it up and it's all gross. It's like he's like, all right, straw time.
Yeah. Apparently, you can't show someone biting someone's neck unless it's a rated R movie. Not
this
actually
movie should have been R.
No, it should have been.
It actually had well, here's another issue. All the big fights are dark and covered up.
They're not. I don't even think they're dark.
In the last fight, super dark. All the bats are flying around, so everything's obscured. I'm like, I would like to see.
I didn't even think it was necessarily
in 84, Wonder Woman 84, where Cheetah and Wonder Woman are fighting, and I'm like, it's just dark. You can't see anything.
I didn't even necessarily think it was dark. It was just everything was moving all the time. They were going through buildings. There was debris falling everywhere. The fucking cameras moving all around, and they're just these big smoky, weird blobs going at each other. I will speak to the one scene when he is testing out his powers. I thought those effects were pretty cool. When his ear turned to the bat sonar and it got ridges in it like a bat, and then his eyes changed. And even the sonar effect
was pretty good looking. I didn't know he was that jacked.
I thought you were about to say, man, Jared Leto's really good at using sonar. I can't believe it.
No. I'm talking about Jared Leto's appearance.
No, I mean, he's always, yeah.
I was just like, oh.
No, he got ripped for this again. I mean, he was ripped in his Joker, too. He was pretty big, yeah.
I mean, he doesn't have his shirt off, so it's a little different.
He has his shirt off the entire time. Or at least for that big
scene. Yeah, he wasn't jacked in that.
I thought he was. I don't know. Maybe I'm misremembering.
I don't think he's jacked.
All right, come back next time for more Jared Leto Jack talk.
If Joker was jacked in Suicide Squad, we would have talked about it.
Dude, I think he was a tiny bit less jacked than what he is in this.
I totally forgot. Ow. It's his muscle form and his
definitely there's a lot of definition.
Upper body looks fucking jacked. In this. Which I guess makes sense because he goes from like super frail, which we can talk about the CGI
those effects.
For that
the
effect.
CGI in general.
And I did kind of like how like he did both of them, both Milo and Morbius. They do look
the
like
emaciation thing. Yeah, it works. It works. I do think there were some dodgy times of it for sure. But
you know they did the Amazing Spider-Man 3 with Milo where he gets the powers, he's looking hot, he's dancing, he's putting on a suit and tie, becoming the bad boy. He goes to the underground club, the Oriole.
Ooh.
And he's like trying to pick up a chick.
Yeah.
And he's fucking buying her shots, and then the guy's like, "Hey bud, back off." And he's like, "Oh, let's go."
Yeah.
And then he leaves.
He's like having trouble like holding in like his vampire.
Yeah, and then he leaves, and then he kills somebody, and he gets caught.
like right on camera. Like,
yeah, and he's just
and he looks directly at the camera, which was pretty amazing too.
And then Stroud, played by Tyrese Gibson, he's like, "We got him. It's not Morbius."
He was actually pretty. I liked the cops actually probably the most out of all this. I enjoyed them.
They committed to like we're cops and we're kind of goofy, but
we're figuring it. Yeah, like Tyrese was more of the straight man, and the other guy was more kind of like the comedic cop.
Yeah, I guess we do have to give it to them.
I thought they were fine. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, they just committed to the act.
Absolutely.
Of those two's dynamic, but
for sure,
they're ultimately we get the something about San Francisco.
Yeah.
Remember Venom, guys? Huh? Remember?
There's some weird shit going on in but I love how they're like weird shit, but like...
Remember Tom Hardy?
But Jared Leto, I'm sorry, Michael Morbius, knows to say I'm Venom? What? Do people, do people know that? Like, is he a well-known...
We don't know.
We have no baseline for that.
This movie is just a lot of we don't know.
We really don't. God, guys, Sony, don't do this. Stop. Just let Marvel make your movies and take a percentage. Like, you could make so much more money that way. Look at fucking Spider-Man No Way Home.
I think they want the ownership of doing it.
No, they do. I think you're absolutely right.
They want that pride.
They want to have their cake and eat it too, as they say. And you fucking can't, Sony. You guys fucked up Amazing Spider-Man. You're fucking up your own universe again. Kevin Feige is your savior. Let him save you. Just leave it alone. But, Gooch, anything else on Michael Morbius, the living vampire, the Marvel legend?
He ain't no legend in my book.
No, he isn't. He's more of a wet fart, to be honest. Guys, thank you so much for watching with us if you've been with us live on twitch.tv/Delco Nerd Network. We very much appreciate you being with us. Excuse me. You can find this podcast anywhere podcasts are found. Just search Delco Nerd Network. We are on all the social media pages at Delco Nerds on mostly everything. We have a Facebook page as well as a Discord channel.
Lot of Morbius memes.
A lot of Morbius memes in that Discord channel. A lot of fun. And we'll be discussing what comes out next soon. I'm trying to think.
Next movie?
Yeah. Is there anything big?
Doctor Strange, probably.
I think you're correct.
Moon Knight
will be coming shortly soon at some point. Yeah.
TV shows. Next movie will probably be Doctor Strange.
Next game, I'm assuming, will either be Elden Ring or it's
going
to be a while.
They'll happen at some point, guys.
I might want to do Lego Star Wars, but we'll see. I don't know. Guys, you can find all this information on our website, DelcoNerdNetwork.com. You can email us with comments, questions, or concerns at DelcoNerds@gmail.com. For Gooch, Ivan Trio. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay nerdy, and we will see you next time.